どうぞ。
どっちが
Yo, 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 it's your man MAS, back with more solo leveling content. You know, your boy got the shape up, he's fresh. I know it's been a while, been roughing it out, but you know, I'm gonna be back. So, I mean, it's only a few episodes that came out in regards to solo leveling. So just in regards to concepts, right? We're not talking about the comic, we're not talking about the book. Strictly the anime. So people who have read the book, read the series, all right, like get out of this conversation, all right? You're gonna spoil it for people, but from what I can tell, right, the biggest flaw for solo leveling, like the drawback, and it's not a huge drawback because by all regular standards, in my opinion, it's not gonna sound great, but in regards to animes that are out there, active animes, mainly active new animes, solo leveling is essentially like the best, right? It may not be number one, right? That's Dan to Dan, right? But it's essentially like top tier. Like you can't even debate it. Like story wise, combat wise, it doesn't hit all genres. But the biggest flaw for solo leveling is from what I believe is like the concept of the hunters. And they introduced something in the last episode in regards to, which is cool. I'm gonna give her props for that. There are international hunters, meaning hunters are not only restricted to Korea. Go figure, like, trust me, if you watch enough anime, you'll notice, like, why does it seem like the majority of the strongest characters, the main characters essentially, are just kind of centered in this one area, one region, quote unquote Japan, right? And then everywhere else is trash. Like America doesn't have Nujitsu or Reapers in terms of Bleach. Like they're not in Europe. Like it's very like anime tends to be one dimensional, but it makes sense because you only kind of talk about the country that you're from, right? But that's a bigger conversation in terms of, all right, well, I'm making this in Japan, so a lot of my content is going to be focused on Japan. Or I'm making this in solo leveling's case, I'm making this in Korea. So a lot of this is going to be based upon Korean culture. So by default, the best hunters are going to be in Korea. Because that's where I live and we the best. Even though we know they're not the best, right? And that's not even me trying to shit on Koreans or Japanese people. Like the Olympics tell you you're not the best. Like if there's a better gauge of why you're not the best, it should be the Olympics, right? That should be the most welcoming of all the cultures, whoever wants to participate. If you think you're the best, let's see you rank in the Olympics, essentially, right? So let's translate this to hunters, all right? Do I believe the best hunters are in Korea? By solo leveling standards, yeah, but I think that's a flaw because if they're trying to broaden the horizons, which in the last episode they did, right? In terms of like when they introduced like America, and I was like, oh snap, like so there are hunters in other countries and other parts of the world. It's not just like it's not just Korea, right? And they do that in a lot of anime. So I'm like, yo, like there's no way the best guilds, the best hunters are just like, there's no way, if we're talking about realistically, right? But again, the argument is their story. Whoever, created Soul Level is their story. So if that's how they want to do the story, that's fine. But if we're trying to be realistic, you can't say the best hunters are in Korea. The best like athletes aren't even in Korea by Olympic standards. Like just keeping the same thing with Japan and Blue Lock. Like it's just in terms of Japan and soccer, it's not a thing. It's not a thing, right? But by their standards, it's the best, which is fine. It's fine. Just saying the biggest flaw is that technically there should be other hunters that are stronger than Sun. There should be other hunters that are stronger than some of the main hunters in Korea because the world is so much bigger than Korea, right? There's probably some hunters that should be stronger in North Korea, right? We don't talk about North Korea, but that should be a thing. So they just need to broaden that a bit more. And maybe they do later in the anime via the book. Maybe that gets explained a little bit more, right? But I'm just saying in terms of like, again, the best gauge for that is like the Olympics, right? I don't watch the Olympics that often, so I don't know who often takes it, but like, I mean, Americans, I don't think we kill it like in the bench press or, you know, like certain categories that like other countries are just better at, right? So that's how I feel. I feel like I do know this. Women's American soccer in the Olympics be crushing it, right? So that's another thing, right? You can kind of have that be a gauge. You could try to make your story realistic to kind of fit the rest of the world. But granted, it's an anime, so it's not really supposed to be realistic, but if you're trying to. So I'm so immersed in the world of Solo Leveling, like as I continue to watch it, it's like so fascinating. Like how many things introduce, like the Red Gate, hunters from other countries, the guilds, how Sun continues to try to level up. Like they're introducing so many aspects. I'm like, all right, like they really broaden the show as they continue to go on. But I'm just like, yo, there's no way, because I'm at a certain point while I'm watching, I'm just like, all right, like all the strongest hunters just seem to be in this area. Like there's no way there's another hunter that's stronger, but it was so dope that they introduced that. And of course they also introduced, I think that's Sun's father. I'm not sure. He kind of insinuated that it was. And then it just reminded me of a whole Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha kind of thing, where it's like, if you watch Inuyasha, if you watch Yu Yu Hakusho, main characters who were supposedly average, right? These main characters supposedly average, maybe above average, but then you find out, even probably Bleach and Ichigo, like you find out like, oh no, they come from, their family's actually the shit. You didn't know, but as you continue to watch the story, like in like the later arcs, like Yusuke's father was actually a big deal. Like Inuyasha's father was actually a big deal. Ichigo's family and father's actually a big deal. Like, so I'm like, at first I was giving some props. I mean, he still deserves his props. I'm like, yo, like, you know, Sun got it from the mud, right? He wasn't privileged. He got it from the mud and he leveled up. But come to find out, his father, or if that is his father, like, oh no, he came from a little bit of privilege. He came from a little bit of talent. He's not just like some talentless average Joe, right? Sun's father, you know, Sun's father, like, so I'm like with the chin, like yo, yeah. Like that's his father, like, and then the dude that's trying to get to Sun, I don't know. They're probably going to give more context in this episode. So I don't know what happened with the fight between, I'm going to butcher his name, but the dude that's trying to avenge his relative and then Sun's father. But it looks like Sun's father washed him. I'm going to put it out there. It's probably going to spoil it, like in the future, like maybe he does wash Sun. But like, if you can't beat his father, you're not going to beat Sun. Like the dude is mad cocky. Rightfully so. Right, these hunters and, you know, their ranks, that's kind of how it is like in America too. Like the more money you have, the more you can brag. So like these hunters, oh, I'm S class, so you know I'm a like bro, calm down. You can't even beat his papa. You're not beating Sun. And by all extensive purposes, Sun should be stronger than his father. That's just how it should go. You know, like my son, you know, should hopefully be stronger than me. We're not going to give it like the Dragon Ball Z complex, right? Like the Dragon Ball Z complex where Gohan was supposed to go that route. Yes, I'm going to go on the rant. Gohan was supposed to go that route, but then Goku just kind of overturned. Like the creator of Dragon Ball was just like, Goku was just so popular that he just switched gears. It was like, nah, fuck Gohan. Goku's gonna keep leveling, like, so it's not gonna be that situation where the son is technically eventually always supposed to surpass the father. So no Dragon Ball Z complex, all right? So Sun, for all intents and purposes, is supposed to surpass his father. If that is his father, we don't know. We need DNA tests. We do not know, right? But if the dude can't even beat Sun's father, he definitely not beating Sun. But he could brag and bark all he wants, right? But that was an interesting tidbit, but he would then come from that lineage of Yusuke, Inuyasha, Ichigo, where it's like, oh, like you think they're average or slightly above average, but it turns out like they actually come from a very talented overpowered family. So that could be a thing. Maybe it's not, but I mean, I feel like that takes away a little bit in regards to Sun, whereas like, yo, I really viewed him as like a true underdog, whereas like, yo, he didn't come from talent. A good example, Guts didn't come from talent, and he turned out to be a beast. So I thought Sun was kind of in that category, not trying to compare him to Guts, but like, yo, he got it from the mud. But maybe there's a possibility he may not have got it from the mud. That is a possibility. But just in regards to flaws, Sun and all those hunters that you see in that area from what you can tell just watching the anime just off rip, they just tend to be the strongest ones in general. Right? I have not seen another hunter from other countries that have stood up and it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm the shit. Like, I have not seen it. But again, it makes sense because it's their series, it's their story. So you only kind of create what you know. But it seemed like they were trying to deviate from that when they introduced, oh, there are hunters from other countries, which I thought was so cool, like so legit. And then I'm just like, okay, like if they're going to introduce that, they have to introduce some overpowered hunters from other areas of the world, because there are. And unfortunately, if you're trying to go that route and be realistic, you kind of have to shit on your own country, technically, right? I could be honest, I live in America. Like, Americans aren't the shit, like in terms of the rest of the world. Like, we're not number one, right? That's just the truth of the matter. We excel in some things, but we're not like the end all be all. But it's the same thing with Korea. So it has to be the same thing with solo leveling. They can't be the best hunters. Koreans, Japanese, they can't be the best hunters by default. All right, but again, it's not my story. So I'll just be curious to see if they introduce some overpowered hunters in other countries, and if any of them can give Sun a run for his money. But chances are they probably can't, because the show's about him, so he's always gonna win. but that's the take. I'm loving Solo Leveling Season 2 so far. Again, if you like the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me hear your comments. And I recently dropped a video in regards to a podcast I did in regards to Citizen Evil. Please check that out as well. But it's your man MAS. I'm out. I'll have more Solo Leveling content for you guys soon. Peace.